I'm saying that they know where almost all of this stuff is, but it's being guarded and protected, and they can't get to it. This is a very advanced city from the deep, deep past, and it is being guarded by ancient machines.
So I'm with James here, and I'm headed down to Arizona. He says stop by and he'd feed me dinner. So I'm stopping by and he's going to feed me dinner. But I want to get a story out of him. James deals with a lot of different things that I really don't know about in that, but he's telling me a little bit about some Aztec treasure and things like that, and that's right up my alley. And so I'm not sure exactly where James is going to take this, but with that, James, take it away.
Okay, so my name's James, and basically, it's a little, let me see, where should I start off here? Start
right where you just tell me what you did for a living and how you learned some of this stuff.
Okay, so I used to work for the movie industry, and I was on sets all day long, and in my job I had a lot of downtime, so I had a lot of free time, so I could read, I could do whatever I wanted. I could snoop around the sets, I could snoop around the studios, I talked to actors, producers, everybody you could think of. I've been around a lot of people. And in the process of doing this, I met secret society members like Freemasons and other secret societies. People call them Illuminati and all this stuff. They have different names for them, but all these groups really do exist. And they control a lot of things in the movie industry, including who's on TV, who the stars are, what roles they get. They control what they say. They control their lifestyles. They will find these people as small children and actually groom them for their entire life, and they control them. And I've met these people, I've met their children, I met like people in very weird groups that are connected to these very powerful people, and I started hearing a lot of rumors and stories going around about a lot of things that people are very interested in, including your little Aztec treasure. So I'm going to get to that.
So that's what interests me, is the Aztec treasure. So if you've heard something about that, I want to know what you've heard.
Okay, so the Aztec treasure is real, totally real. And people in secret societies have been looking for this for thousands of years. They've had ancient maps that have led them directly to this country, to specific locations. And I mean, I could show you these maps. I mean, maybe there's some way we can show them somehow. But I mean, there's maps, there's a lot of stuff, and these secret societies have been looking for this Aztec treasure. And a lot of this is buried out in the deserts in the United States. And this is going to lead to what Area 51 is really there for, because it has nothing to do with what you're told. I mean, they've made up this whole huge story about aliens and all this stuff to protect this area, but Area 51 was put where it was because it's actually hiding an ancient underground city that the Aztec used to speak of. I mean, the Aztecs speak of 7 of these, and this is one of these areas. And the Native Americans speak of these in their legends, and like they call the one in Death Valley Shinava. I think that's how they pronounce it. And that's really an underground city in Death Valley, and the government found this in the 1930s. I write all about this. I have a personal Facebook group. I'm gonna plug myself here, I'm sorry. But it's a private group, it's called Esoteric Essays. And I've written a bunch of articles, essays about a lot of this stuff and what I've connected, because I've followed petroglyph trails. I mean, I had access to a lot of stuff when I was working in this industry, and a lot of people, I mean, there's people that actually have millions and millions of dollars of ancient scrolls, secret esoteric books that are highly coveted and guarded because of what they say in these things. And I mean, I personally know some of these people, and I mean, I have access to a lot of things. So I started investigating. I mean, I drove all across this country for, man, I must have put in almost 50,000 miles crisscrossing the country. I sold everything. I gave up my entire life. I basically had a camper and a van at one point. And I mean, I've crisscrossed the country looking at all these places. I found hidden sites that they won't tell you about. I mean, they completely have wiped some of the stuff off the face of the book in order to keep this stuff secret and hidden. They put Hoover Dam where they did and flooded the area to hide it. Some ruins and some petroglyphs that led right to Area 51, Death Valley, and the Grand Canyon, because there's an ancient city that's under the Grand Canyon as well. And this was found in the 1910 by a man named G.E. Kincaid. And the Smithsonian covered all this up. And I know a lot of you viewers know some of this, but I mean, I've spent a lot of time piecing this together, and I've driven a lot of, there's stuff in Tennessee, there's Mayan ruins all over the place. There's a lot of hidden things, and I mean, I've really stepped on some toes doing this. I know there's a lot of secret society stuff that I'm sort of holding back right now, but I'm trying to actually.
So you're saying that the secret societies knows where this stuff is, or they're trying to find this stuff, and they talk to you about it, and so you got copies of some of the maps, some of what their knowledge is. Is that what you're trying to? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that they know where almost all of this stuff is, but it's being guarded and protected, and they can't get to it.
What do you mean guarded and protected?
Okay, these ancient cities are from civilizations that were super advanced, and they're from thousands and thousands of years ago. And this is talked about in the Bible. This is talked about in the Zohar. This is talked about in, I mean, I can name off a lot of stuff that you can get information from where you don't need secrets. And it's clearly in there for people to read, but it's hard to understand, and they try to hide it. And so then they do blatantly edit out stuff. Like, they've edited books out of the Bible. They've edited out the stuff about the giants out of the Bible. They edit a lot of stuff out, so nothing makes sense. Because the giants are connected to this too. We call them Bigfoot today. But the government knows that there are remnants of what we used to call giants. And the Native Americans know about these. They actually think they killed the last remaining group of giants in Lovelock, Nevada. I've been to the cave. I've actually tried to get through and see some of the artifacts from the cave, except there's like 2 highly classified boxes that they won't let you see. So they'll let you see all the other boxes, but if you ask for those 2, they'll tell you, no, this is classified, you can't see these. Because that has some of the skulls from the giants in it and some of this other stuff, but they won't let you see this stuff. But they've hidden all this. But the giants are living in these underground cavern systems that lead to these cities. And the government's hiding that. I mean, this is in the Bible and stuff too. I mean, it says that we would see this stuff reemerge from our past, but nobody understands what they're reading. And then we have our totally occult-driven media that is like trying to hide everything from everybody. But I mean, the Templars, this involves the Templars. This involves what was at Oak Island, but it was moved a long time ago. This has to do with where Montezuma is. This has to do with Cleopatra, Mark Antony, and them bringing Alexander the Great's remains here when they fled from Egypt, because they didn't die there. She was the pharaoh and the head of the mystery schools. So she had all of the Egyptian writings that told them exactly what was in the United States. So they knew all about this. That's where they fled to. And if you really get to some of the hidden, like Mayan stuff and Aztec stuff, there's mentions of like these people coming thousands of years ago that totally fit Cleopatra and Mark Antony. They called her like the daughter of the sun and the Commodore or something. I mean, there's even legends from these people about them coming here. There's evidence about them all over the place. So I'm saying
So when you're talking Cleopatra, Mark Antony, are you talking about Burroughs Cave in Illinois? Or are you talking something else, or what are you talking?
I
about
know what you're talking about with this cave. Well, I can't remember the guy's name who was really. He has a YouTube channel about this too.
Harry Hubbard?
Yeah, that guy. He seems very intelligent too. and he's onto something, but I say that's not where he will ever find this. This is in a different place. And they know what this city really is. They knew how to get into the city, and their tomb is in the city, and it's not over there. And no one, and these things are protected. I'm saying...
So when you're talking in the city, you're talking about in one of these underground caverns?
In the cities. There's actual, like, they've made a movie that sort of hints at this. And it's called National Treasure. And you see this movie, and they show this treasure that is like beyond belief, with like these giant gold buildings and stuff. This treasure makes that look like child's play. And there's been... This is way bigger than anybody can imagine, and it's deep underground. It's impossible for anybody to get to, but I'm telling you, there's ancient technology from, I don't care if you want to call it Atlantis, I don't care if you want to call it Hyperborea, Lemuria, Mu, whatever name you want to use, Aztlan, because that's the one the Aztecs used. This is a very advanced city from the deep, deep past, and it is being guarded by ancient machines in some of these areas. And we have myths and legends that talk about these machines, and we called them things like Skinwalkers. And now we call some of them orbs and UFOs and things like this. And a lot of these machines they're machines from our deep past that have been functioning and guarding certain areas for a long time. And these secret societies totally believe this too. I mean, there's connections. I'll talk more about some of this later if I'm given them more of a chance. But I mean... So
you're saying that Aztlan or the Aztec treasure is under Area 51? Is that what you're saying? And this information is given to you by...
Oh, okay, no, that's not what I'm saying. Okay. I'm saying what is under Area 51 is part of one of these ancient underground cities. And they found, okay, everybody, I don't know if you know who Bob Lazar is. I'm going to be very quick. Bob Lazar is the guy that they fed information to about aliens from a planet called Zeta Reticuli. And they said that they found these craft, and they came from here, and they needed him and all these people to reverse engineer them. And he came out and told everybody this. And they tried to destroy this man's life. They said he never worked for them. And it's been all proven that this is true. They really tried to do this to this man. Except if you go watch all of his interviews, even in one of his interviews, he's asked, do you really believe this alien story? And he says, I don't know. That's what they told me. Or something like this. And he said, I overheard people talking one time saying that there was an archaeological dig out near Groom Lake and S4 a long time ago where they really found these craft. And I'm telling you that is where they really found these craft, in one of these underground cities. You have to look at it like this is like an advanced military facility from the past, and it's buried underground. There's been catastrophes. There's the Aztec and the Native Americans lived in these areas. They talk about these things openly. We don't believe them. That's our problem. That's not theirs. I respect these people's stories. I respect everything about them. I don't go on their land. I try to be very respectful to everything they believe. We don't believe them. They've been telling us this for a long time. I'm saying that these places are guarded by these ancient machines. And that's what the Skinwalkers are. And they've been guarding these places for a long time. And they've told people about this. They won't go to these areas. They're scared to death. They won't even talk about them because they know there's something there. So, okay, that's what Skinwalker Ranch is all really about. They show you on the TV show how their phones get scanned, how they're trying an experiment, and all of a sudden, boom, everything doesn't work. And they can totally see that something electronic is screwing with them. And then they've even caught the little orbs on the TV where the cow falls over and dies. I mean, some of this I actually believe it's totally true. I mean, they're showing you some of this, but they're trying to make you just think it's aliens. They don't want you even thinking, oh, is this a machine from the time we called Atlantis? That's what they're hiding. And I'm telling you, I think they know this. I know they know this. But only very few people know this. So they're hiding all this.
So I got to ask you, because do I want to say this? I don't want to say this, but I'm interested in Montezuma's treasure. So I want to know, did these people, did they know where this is, or they're just searching up for it themselves, these people that you're talking to? Or, and if so, where do you think it is? Where did they tell you it is? And
okay, so the thing is, you can see where this is if you have the right technology. You can't hide it, especially this amount of gold. This is not like $22 billion worth of gold, like the one treasure I told you they found under another ancient site. That's a little treasure. This is magnitudes far beyond anything you could ever imagine, and this will show up. So when they have the military has satellites. That's also how Russia knows about this thing. They have satellites, and they know where all the gold is on the planet. And there's lots of gold mines in this country that are highly guarded and protected by people like the Rand Corporation. There's one out in the Antelope Valley. And there's other companies, then they're just sitting there on this gold because they don't need it for anything right now. It's just like in the ground, it's in the bank, and when they need it, it's there. So they can see all of this with the satellites and the technology. I mean, they have technology that you will not believe. I mean, they really have stuff that you won't believe. I'm trying not to go off in a tangent because this is for a certain audience. Except, so they know where it is. They can see it. They know where the treasures are that are like in China, underneath the emperor's tomb. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. They know what's under all of these things. They can tell because they have satellite systems. And the Russians know this too. And there's a weird connection to the Russians because the Russians were talking about what they called orphan mines a long time ago when Donald Trump was getting elected. And this has to do with these ancient gold mines. And they call them orphan mines because they've been closed and they're orphans, they're abandoned. But they're not really abandoned, they're being sort of sat on. And the Russians know all about these because they can see from their satellites where all of the huge giant gold deposits are. So the Russians know exactly where this treasure is. The Chinese know exactly where this treasure is. And our government knows exactly where this treasure is. And it's all being controlled and manipulated by secret societies. And this goes way back to like the Templars and way before this stuff. This is all connected to that stuff. That's why they brought the treasures from the Holy Land here. And they were at like places like Oak Island and stuff, and then stuff got moved and spirited in different places. And then later on, other secret societies came and started digging around because they had ancient records that led them to these places, but it was already moved. But I mean, the Freemasons spent millions and millions of dollars with a soon-to-be president searching for a lot of this stuff that was in Oak Island. That's been moved. And I'm telling you, this is all, a lot of this stuff is all in the same location. And I didn't say I know where this is. I'm just being very careful with what I say because I would really like to speak to some very friendly Native Americans that would make this a lot easier. And I don't want to just go tromping on anybody's land. And I don't claim this is not like my treasure. I want to go see something and do something. And I know where it is. And it's just very difficult to do at the present time because I'm very watched doing this. I mean, I've really outed the government with what they're hiding under Area 51. And you can read what I've written on my site, and it goes into more detail. I'm actually willing to say more, but I'm trying to make this a shorter video and just give some of the basics here.
So some people are going to see this and say, "Man, you're not giving us nothing, and you're nuts." And
I know that.
And they're gonna ridicule you.
I know that.
And some people are going to say, "Man, well, tell us more." And so.
I'm still saying I know where this is, and I will bring you there when it happens. And I mean, I'm holding back a lot.
Yeah.
Because I'm really worried because, I mean, I live right next to Area 51 for a reason. I mean, I've been searching I've been doing this for like 20 years. I've dedicated everything. I mean, I have nothing but this. I know what I'm doing.
What do you
And
mean?
I know and I have some very strong ties to, I know people don't want to believe it, but I mean, I know a lot of stuff about why some of these actors show up dead and why they show up missing and who killed who. And I mean, I've heard a lot of crazy things at work and I paid attention. That's what I did. I had 20 to 18 hours a day to sit there and watch. I mean, like I'm telling you, the whole media is totally controlled. I mean, everything is scripted, word for word.
So,
It's all controlled.
so,
These are what our wars have been over. Really, they have. Our wars have been over all of this stuff, and they're all looking for this ancient technology. That's why we went into Iraq, because that's also, okay, people don't understand why people like ISIS were destroying all of the ancient ruins.
why?
And that's
Yeah, I
because
don't
do you know the first thing that they did when they went into Iraq? First they went to one of the ziggurats of Ur, and they totally surrounded that place. And then they went to all of the museums and immediately, just like Hitler, immediately went to all of the museums and took everything that they can from ancient ruins, cuneiform writings. They took everything, they photographed it, they didn't leave much. So then, like, once we abandoned these people, after we stole their oil and all their ancient, I mean, there's really some weird rumors about what they really found under some of these ancient ruins. And you can, I mean, there's really some weird rumors out there. And that's what this is about. They're looking for this, the same thing Hitler was looking for. Hitler was very honest about all this, talking about they were the master race from Atlantis. They never talked about aliens. The alien stuff is like propaganda that's been put into this from the government. And this all centers around this huge treasure that they know where it is. They know there's technology there. If you really know the legends of this treasure, this is supposed to belong to an Atlantean god named the Quetzalcoatl. And this was supposedly through history a different being.
So wait a minute. You're saying the Atlantean god Quetzalcoatl, but that was the Aztec god.
Well, because that's where he supposedly have come from, and the Aztec has mistaken this person with advanced technology as a god, because he supposedly flew over here in like a craft. Like what I'm saying was found under Area 51. They found what the Hindus have a book called the Mahabharata where they talk all about this stuff and the ancient cities under the ground and the wars that happened and the advanced weapons and flying machines, and they called UFOs back in the day Vimanas. So sometimes I call UFO Vimana because that's what it really is. It's these machines from the past, and now they're totally trying to wipe this out of history. They don't want anybody to know about what the stuff is, because it gives them a lot of control. They can control people. They can control your mind. They can do a lot of crazy things with this technology. It's why people start hearing voices in their head. And like you'll hear the embassy people say that they're hearing ringing in their ears and they're getting brain damage and stuff. That's because these countries are using advanced weapons that we know nothing about on all these people. And a lot of these weapons came from these ancient sites. And that's what was really found under Area 51 in the 30s, was one of these like ancient bases with advanced machines in them, and they had to cover it up. So they created a new border for Death Valley, and minus the part that was in Nevada, and then they plopped a military base. Well, first it wasn't even a military base, they just had it hidden, and they were investigating it. And then they realized how big this was, so they plopped a base on it, and it was totally secret. And only the need-to-know people ever went out there. And then people started talking about alien crafts and stuff, so then they're like, okay, we're going to throw this in with the UFO stuff. Because I also say this is what happened in Roswell. Was the Roswell craft was one of these, it's like an Atlantean drone being autopiloted, and it crashed. So the government comes in and picks these things up, and then they spirited it away, and then they're like, they know what this is, because I'm telling you, secret societies have been looking for Atlantis and its ruins and its ancient machines for hundreds and hundreds of years. That's why this whole country was founded, This country was going to be called New Atlantis at one point. I mean, that's what all of this is really about.
So you're saying that these secret societies, these groups, these governments knows where Montezuma's treasure, let's call it, is. But you're saying that there's ancient technology there too, and it's guarded, or they're afraid to go after it?
Yeah, it's guarded.
Or what's it guarded
Even if you like get to like the super like deep Aztec stuff, that I mean, the church destroyed a lot of this. There's a lot of this actually in the Vatican, except they destroyed as much as they possibly could, saying that this was like all paganism and that, and in a way it sort of is, but they, in these writings, it talks about this. This is why America was even named America, was based on this Quetzalcoatl being named Amaru in Turkey. And then these people believe that this being is special and like a god on earth almost. And it would be here, it would do certain things, die, boom, pop up somewhere else. They'd find it, just sort of almost like the Dalai Lama, I think it is, who they'd go after when he dies. That's what like the Aztec and all these people believed of this being. So it's been named from Amaru to Viracocha to the Quetzalcoatl, and this continues. So they've had this story about this being, the Aztec. They totally believe this. And so do some secret societies, but they call this being something totally different. There's a church that calls this being Jesus, and that's the Mormon church. And then you have a secret society that calls this being Lucifer. So this is all like really tied into the Bible and what they're hiding from all of these religions. There's a lot into all this. But that's also how we get like weird legends of people like Thor and Zeus and Odin. I'm telling you, these things were real at one point. These are Atlantean beings from a long time ago. They had like advanced body armor, kind of like Iron Man suits that make them, I say this is from angels. Other people say the aliens gave them technology. And secret societies say what I say. I mean, they're not fooled by the alien stuff because they're creating the alien stuff to confuse everybody. So all this is tied into this, and I'm telling you, all their like little secrets that they are going to be very angry that I'm revealing. But, so yes, I say they know where this stuff is because they can see it, but they can't get near it. And they know they can't get near it. And it's been hidden and guarded for this Quetzalcoatl.
Okay, so the Aztec stuff, so they took it back to their ancient homeland. Did they take treasures they had, or they took... tell me about what you think's there and wherever this ancient treasure of the Aztec is and what's there.
Thank you for this. Because this has been like... People have been confused about this for a long time. The rumor, what people have always been told is that the Aztec, when they were being attacked by Hernan Cortez, and they were being attacked and for their treasures, for their ancient writings. So the rumor is Montezuma had a bunch of his runners take a bunch of this treasure in their ancient writings back to their homeland of Aztlan. And that's in the western part of the United States. They did take some of the stuff back. They took back a bunch of treasures and a bunch of ancient writings and stuff that was important to them at the time and stuff that was important to Montezuma. But there is a massive treasure that was already here. These people were here thousands of years prior and they had to flee. So they did not take all of the treasure that was there and all these advanced machines and stuff. They didn't even know what the machines were. And they knew sort of about gold, shiny stuff, but they had no use for this stuff. They were leaving this area a long time ago, and that's what led them to Mexico. And then when the Spanish came to Mexico thousands of years later looking for all this treasure, they took some back with these ancient writings that they had. Because they had found more treasure and more ancient writings in the pyramids in Mexico where they settled. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not
so
losing it.
You're saying that they didn't mine the gold, make all these.
Yeah,
they found them there in Mexico area,
yes.
and Okay.
Yeah, they had no care in the world for gold or any of this stuff, really. They might have had some fascination with some things like shiny crystals and stuff like that, but like gold, they didn't care about gold. They didn't have anything to do with gold. But when they came to Mexico, there's pyramids all over Mexico. There were ancient ruins and underground
So
cities.
you're saying these pyramids were already there? They wasn't built by the Mayans?
Yeah,
the
no.
the Aztecs.
That is all remnants from this lost civilization. That was just more intact. They were originally in North America, and they were living underground. And then there was a catastrophe that happened again later on that made them flee, and they came to Mexico. And when they were in Mexico, they found more pyramids in Tenochtitlan. That's modern day Mexico City. This is where they moved in, and they were like, this is perfect. There's big giant buildings, big structures. We'll live right here. So they set up camp there and lived there for thousands of years until the Spaniards came. And so when they were in Mexico, they found even more treasures and more ancient writings from the people who originally built this stuff thousands and thousands of years ago. And they found this stuff, and they were curious about it, but they didn't know what this stuff was at all. But the Spaniards did, because they know what this stuff is. They know about the ancient cities. They know about Atlantis. They know about all the... They've had writings about this, so they've been searching for it. So now they're coming to Mexico looking for this stuff. So then the Aztecs spirit away some of this stuff because it must be important. The Spaniards want it. But they took their precious writings. They had a belief system of their own. So they took all that with them too and took it back to Aztlan. That's in, like I said, part of it's under Area 51. Part of it is totally under Utah. Part of it's in New Mexico. There's a lot. Part of it's in Arizona. They brought it back here to a special place that's very guarded.
So they brought it back to a place that's guarded, but if it's guarded, how did they bring it back?
That's what I'm saying. This ties into what they believed is their god, their ancient god that's supposed to come back and get this. I'm saying there's truth to this. I mean, this is in the Bible too. This really does connect to the Bible and lots of other religions and what they believe. So they brought this stuff back and they deposited it back into this very ancient secured city system. And then this technology said, okay, they can bring it back. It's like it's watching what's going on this whole time. I'm saying this technology is looking for special souls, looking for people that are connected to this stuff. And these secret societies really believe this. This is what these bloodlines are that they talk about. And they trace bloodlines for who they think are special people. I mean, it's very convoluted and very difficult to explain. I mean, hopefully I'm doing a good enough job doing it. I mean... So back, you mentioned that Nixon was trying to get the treasure at Victoria Peak, but I heard it was Johnson, but you're saying it was Nixon? Yeah, this is Richard Nixon, and he had a lot to do. This really led to his impeachment. And
so those that don't know about Victoria Peak, tell me just a quick overview, and then tell me what happened.
Okay, there's like this weird story about an old man named Doc Noss that found a treasure, a bunch of gold bars under this mountain called Victoria Peak, next to the White Sand Missile Range. I think that's the right one. But remember, it's right next to a missile range on the United States base. That's there for a reason. But he found this gold, and then it basically, he got some gold bars out. He hid them. He told people that he found this. I'm pretty sure he filed a claim, and then the government sort of got involved in this and ended up closing off the area and extending the base to cover this peak. So now no one can get to it. And so they've been fighting over this for a long time. And then I'm telling you, the government went in and took the gold because they know that this has ties to the Aztec and this lost treasure. And this guy magically found this gold. What I'm saying is this will happen. The Aztec were bringing some of this stuff from Mexico up here. And they got to New Mexico and they deposited it in this cavern system because they know all about these. Because the cavern systems they connect North America to South America. And you used to be able to traverse this with no problem. But it's been collapsing and destroying itself. So it's a lot harder to do this. But the Aztec deposited this in this area, and they were trying to hide it, and they were being pursued by the Spanish. And the Spanish caught them and killed them and found this treasure, melted it down, put it in the gold bar form, and hid it in this Victoria Peak, and they were going to come back and get it. Except something happened and they didn't come back and get it. So they were probably killed by other people or Aztecs. So now this stuff's been sitting there. There's even rumors that they found like Spanish like weapons and armor and stuff. So you can tell that the Spanish were here. So they found this. I'm saying they found the Aztec, found this stuff, melted it down, hid it, and then somehow nobody found it. And it was left there. And this little old man found it. And this is connected to a little tiny portion of the Aztec treasure. And the government swooped in, closed it off. They put this on Unsolved Mysteries, a couple TV shows, and they try to make it sound all crazy. But the government took it. They even have what they call the Black Eagle Fund. And this is a fund that the government uses to hide this stuff. And they also did this with Yoshimida's treasure. They found that in the Philippines. I think it was McCarthy. They called him the Supreme Commander and gave him complete control over the Philippines after the war, and that's what he did. That was his sole job, was to find Yamashita's treasure. And they found it. They took that treasure and put it into this Black Eagle Fund group, and this has been, that was like $400 million, or even billions, $400 billion. It was some crazy amount of money. So basically, our government found that treasure and put it in this fund. So they stole all the treasure from all the people from World War II. We took it. They funded our wars and stuff for the next like 30 years with this money. But some of the Victoria Peak treasure money ended up in that fund too. All of it was supposed to go there, but it didn't all go there. And Richard Nixon and some of his little cronies stole a lot of money and gold. And then
So it was Nixon. Johnson didn't have anything to do with that.
I can't say for sure about that, but I know Richard Nixon did. And this ties all the way down to a theft years later in a little strip mall bank that was robbed sort of by San Diego. And Richard Nixon had millions and millions of dollars in this bank. And this was like some of the only stuff stolen out of there. And it's like, that's on Unsolved Mysteries or something too, because they're like, why did somebody break into this place? But they were stealing like some of Richard Nixon's like hidden booty. And I actually think this might be like the Mexican government that did this, because they know all about this. They've been trying to get this land back for a long time, and they've tried to infiltrate the government in California with politicians, and there's a lot of secret society stuff going on in the Mexican world of this that nobody really knows about at all in this country. So they've been trying to desperately get this back too. So I'm thinking maybe the Mexican mafia and that might have had something to do with stealing this gold back from Richard Nixon that he stole, because this is really part of this treasure. And there are people that have been searching for this for a long time. And I got on a little tangent again, but that's how this ties into Victoria Peak. Victoria Peak is part of this treasure. A little bit of it that was sort of left out on a little secret cache.
With that said, James, man, I appreciate you for sharing your knowledge with us, and that's our wrap.
Thank you.